All right.
Okay.
What's up, Facebook friends?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. This is the second live stream we did tonight. We didn't know before you go over in our Vail shop. And tonight we're introducing Grand Traverse gear leading up to registration, which is at midnight tonight, so just a couple hours away. I'm Doug Stenslick from Cripple Creek Backcountry.
And I'm Paul Hamilton, also from Cripple Creek Backcountry. One-time finisher of the Grand Traverse.
One-time finisher, one and done. I've probably done the Grand Traverse 6 times now, and we've certainly kitted out hundreds and hundreds of people to do it. So the Grand Traverse asked us to come in and make a video about all this, and we're eventually going to edit it down. It'll be a good YouTube video to check out, but it is registration. People are excited, and if you have a partner, you know, share this with them. If you're on the athlete forum right now, share it there. We're going to have some good information, and we're going to break it down for you here.
For sure. And one thing I want to mention right away is that if you're hesitant about jumping into this race, if you're watching this right now and you're on the fence about pulling the trigger, it's definitely a bucket list race, and it's well worth the time and money to spend to make the trip and experience happen, because it's rad. And
Yeah.
lining up with all your friends, you know, 200 crazies at midnight.
400, 500. Yeah.
Yeah, we're up to 400, 500 now.
Yeah, I think it's getting capped at 500 this year. So, yeah, there's nothing really like it. We do pretty much all of the ski mountaineering races around Colorado and Utah, and there is really nothing like the Grand Traverse. Just seeing, that endless snake of headlamps either in front of you or behind you, depending on where you're in the pack, is,
Yeah.
the way to go.
Yeah, the start is epic, and you know, it's an adventure, it's an experience, it's something you can rave about with your friends for years to come. So definitely get on it. And
Yeah, so one of the reasons we got asked to do this video is because we do want the race to be welcoming to everyone. But as the years go by, the Traverse is going to continue to tighten up those cutoff times. You have to be a star pass by a certain time or you're going to get turned around. And one of the things we saw people doing is, like Paul handed me those whalers over here, is everybody went to a pin binding, but it wasn't uncommon to see people in a setup. This would be certainly on the egregious level, but at least it's a tech binding. Years ago when I did it, there were still a lot of people on frame bindings. And what the Traverse and us and other racers are worried about is people are going to get cut off and they're going to have to go home. So if you have that setup, leave it at home. You're going to need something different for race day.
don't bring this. This is heavy, super heavy. It's not going to be conducive for touring 38, 40 miles in the backcountry.
Yeah.
So the gear's come a long way. It's really light and efficient for touring, and we're going to break it down for you here.
And so what we were going to lead with, we don't want to intimidate anybody. You do need a lot of gear for this race, but what we're going to lead with is a setup you can use and you can still have fun with any time of the year. It would be a competitive setup. You can do quite well in it. I picked a couple of my favorite skis over here. What you got for me first, Paul?
We're going to break down the Atomic Backland 85.
So I would kind of say 85 should be on the upper limit of what you're thinking about for the race. You can still be pretty quick with it. It's a very light ski, just over 1,000 grams. It still has the quick tip attachment for ripping skins, and that's pretty essential because you could have, I don't know, how many times do you think skins are coming on and off in that race?
Yeah, upwards of a couple dozen times.
It's certainly at least skis on and off, depending on, So it's a really good idea to have this. You're going to like it on Richmond Ridge. So Atomic 85, not that expensive of a ski, and what's even better is you're going to have a great spring ski. When you're pairing it with like a light binding and a light boot, you're going to use it for years and years to come. What's this one, Paul?
We got the Salomon X Alp.
Yeah, so the Salomon X Alp, this would be a big step up and a step down in weight. If you're taking it in one of the shorter lengths, you're going to be under, 1,000 grams for it. and it's 79 in the waist, so a little narrower still. And one of the things I want to tell you about, if you're considering a heavier ski or a wider ski at home, be like, no, I'll be fine. It's not just the weight we're talking about. We're not just talking grams, but the wider your skin is, the more drag you have on the snow. And that gets pretty rough when you're multiplying that by 100,000 steps through the night.
Exactly. Yeah. Thin to win, light is right as far as racing goes.
And it's all about just moving efficiently in the mountains. No matter who you are in this race, whether you're trying to win, whether you're just trying to finish, you got to think about efficiency.
And then one more here, kind of in between.
Yeah, the Volley Objective. It's 82 in the waist. Really popular ski since it came out last year. And nice, solid wood core ski. Great for really
in your quiver any time of the year. So don't just think of them as a pure race ski.
So from the race skis, we're moving away from kingpin and frame. I also feel bad we're not going to fully cover Nordic skis today. If you are a boss and are still going to do it on Nordic skis, we definitely applaud you, and we're a little jealous. But we are kind of covering the gear that most everybody will be on. So we're moving from a ski like that into a binding that's going to be competitive, fun all year, not necessarily gunning for the podium. But one of my favorites would be the Speed Superlight 2.0 from Dynafit. Still under 200 gram binding. The nice thing is you will have an extra riser height with this binding. It won't have a flat mode, which is going to be a little rough for a race like that unless you're using a really light boot. So Speed Superlight would be a good one. This is a new one from Dynafit this year. This is just called the Speed. A little bit heavier still than this one, but you're getting a fully functional binding with settable release values, so it makes more sense to be using it the rest of the year. So those are just a couple bindings. There's so many bindings on the binding wall this year. It's hard to keep them all track. A couple recommendations there. Next are kind of the boots. These are a few boots. Obviously, the F1 is on the heavier side, considering what people are going to be racing in. This is about as heavy as I would go. It's about 1,200 grams in my size. I wouldn't go any heavier in that boot. It's still, you can take the power strap off, and then it'll just be one switch in between ski and ski mode, and that's what we're looking for in a boot.
Yep.
The next one is the Dynafit Carbonio. Solid step down in weight again. You're going to be a little bit more competitive. Again, just one mechanism, switch from ski to skin. Really important for all those transitions. But a really fun boot. Both these boots are really fun to ski on year-round, and you're going to be able to do the traverse in a solid time.
For sure. Yeah, these boots are killer for general lightweight touring and spring skiing. The F1 has gotten amazing reviews. We've all skied it.
Yeah.
Super psyched on it. The master step on the Dynafit allows you to get a little more toe off, which is nice for the kick and gliding.
Yeah.
So some cool characteristics there.
So this, again, this is the setup that we're talking about for someone that is ready to get into speed touring, efficient touring, and wants to complete the traverse this year in a respectable time and have that lightweight setup in the quiver. The last thing to talk about would be skins. Right now we're just covering the nuts and bolts of your ski skin binding boot deal. So a race skin is a super good thing to have. We have rolls of skins, which is a really inexpensive way to build it. They do make the Pomoka race skin very popular in the race, and it'll be good enough for anybody with any width ski. And then we also sell it in just the narrow full race gear.
And we custom make skins here. Save you some money.
Yeah. And
we do a good job.
And it should be something like, you need, how many pairs of skins would you say per team?
Per team, you're looking at minimum 4. I mean, each person should have at least 2 sets of skins. I think I brought 3 the year I did it. Because you never know. And, when I did it, I was, year or two of touring under my belt, I've kicked a lot of skins while I'm in the backcountry touring, and by kicking skins I mean I fail them. You get ice on them, they're not sticking to the base of your ski anymore, so you need to swap it out. Super critical to have at least an extra set when you're in the backcountry 15 miles away from anything. So
yeah.
Skins are a highly underrated component of the gear checklist. It can make or break your experience, and knowing that your skin glue is solid, I definitely recommend touching up the tips and tails of your skins with skin glue if you've been using them for a while, just to get maximum stickability. It's critical.
Yeah, and I think 100% mohair is a super good point to think about when you're doing this.
I mean, that's a given. You need full glideability.
So that, in a nutshell, is the competitor, and you can be fully competitive with it. But this is a setup that you're going to want to ski on the daily basis. And the next setup we're going to go through, we like to ski all the time. If you see Paul in the backcountry around Carbondale, where we are right now, he is on a race ski, usually.
Yeah, I'd say about 80% of the time I'm on a race ski touring. This is one of my favorite setups. I've been skiing the last few years. It's the Hagen race ski with the Hagen ZR binding. Certain qualities about the ski which make it really fun. 65 underfoot, 163 centimeters length. That's kind of the general dimensions of a race ski. And I wouldn't even use the term race ski because it's a super versatile all-around ski. You can use this for general cross-country touring through rolling terrain in the backcountry. You can tour, out in your favorite zones where the powder's deep. You're getting out on the groomers at your ski resorts, going uphill, getting your interval workouts in. So definitely versatile, a lot of applications. It's not just a race ski, but it could definitely be your go-to ski for a lot of purposes.
And I think it's underrated. A lot of people will not be, they'll think they'll get a ski like that, and I don't want to ski, I'm only going to use one day for the traverse. But you're going to use it, like Paul said, on all those training missions and big spring missions. I took a pair up to the volcanoes this year in the Northwest, and it is awesome to move around that efficiently. So to go with that, 65 waisted ski, and the bindings and the boot are a really important pairing with it.
Yeah, and you can get as light as boot as your bank account allows. Full carbon boots exist, which
$3,000 boots.
$3,000 boots.
And I did it in a full carbon boot one year, and it was a big regret of mine. They're really cold, and the traverse can be a very cold race. We've been lucky lately; it's been very warm, but foot warmth is something big. So a plastic shell boot is certainly good to think about.
Yeah. Few qualities which make this boot worthwhile.
Yeah, the Dynafit PDG.
For the race. You're getting really nice range of motion in walk mode. Really allows you to hike and tour efficiently. It's comfortable. It's basically a glorified hiking boot with the carbon fiber cuff. Stiffens up surprisingly well to drive this little toothpick of a ski, so you definitely can control it well enough for the descents. But what you're getting out of this is a quick, lightweight boot to pair with your lightweight binding and ski to give you a proper ultra lightweight setup to move light and fast.
That brings us to the binding. Again, there are probably 10 to a dozen super solid full race bindings out there. The Hagens are they're made by ATK. They're some of our favorites. Paul and I have both been racing on them for years and years. And in fact, the one Paul's showing you here this is his ski. So this binding's seen countless days on snow, and it's still holding up great.
Yeah, aero-grade aluminum. These things can take a lot of abuse, and I've skied up to 105 millimeter underfoot skis with the race binding, so can definitely apply them to skis other than race skis.
And a couple features to think about. They don't have brakes. Some of the bindings we showed you earlier, you can optionally add a brake. The no brake is really nice, but you do need a retention strap when you're racing the Traverse. That's unlike a lot of other races. I may or may not have lost a ski permanently on the Traverse, so there is a reason why you need that. I guess not permanently. I got it back 4 years later, but it made skiing down Aspen kind of a hassle. So yeah, don't forget those. But the binding itself, quick step in, and all it has is a ski mode. When this switch is flicked up, you're stepping in, and then a tour mode like that. No riser heights except for the one, and no messing around. You can do a transition from tour to downhill in like 15 seconds with the right gear.
And then poles, lightweight pair of poles, super critical. I would suggest bringing a volet strap. It's a rubber, I'm sure you've seen them, they're rubber straps with notches you could potentially use as a splint for a broken pole.
I broke the hell out of a pole last year. It really early in the race, it was not fun.
Yeah.
We tried to splint it. They give you a repair kit. It's really hard to do well, so just be careful when you're using full carbon poles. On my end of the spectrum again, for someone just trying to finish and have like just a solid ski pole, I really think fixed length poles, they give you way more purchase when you're skating. Really important. If you're getting like a 3-second pole, it's going to really bend a lot when you're trying to push. Carbon, really stiff, but this again is a pole that you can use in the backcountry or even at the resort. One end of the spectrum here, and Paul's got the other side.
Yeah, so this is an aluminum pole. It's going to be a little more durable than carbon. Not quite as stiff and snappy, but definitely worthwhile. And these wrist straps can actually pop out if you need to drop your poles and tend to something. Nice little feature, but
yeah,
good pair of poles goes a long way.
Yeah, really important. In fact, I'm a firm believer in the extra pole idea now. We'd have to have one of our assistants grab it, but just off camera here is the Black Diamond Z pole, the compactor. It's over by the snowboard kit if you want to grab one. But they fold down really small, and I almost brought one and didn't bring it. And I think if that feature goes wrong, that's one of the worst things that can happen to you. It'll end up costing you probably an hour to have a broken pole. We got Chris bringing a pair in here. This is two of them bound up, but just one of those and one of your partner's backpacks, that'll get you a long way.
For sure.
In terms of, we're just going through the whole list here. Again, we're going to edit this down to short, concise, like what you really need to know. But Paul asked earlier about extra bindings. Extra bindings and the binding repair kit go back to when most people were doing it on Nordic gear, and I think they still require it if you're doing it on Nordic gear. These bindings are a lot more solid. They're made for skiing down Star Pass and Aspen Mountain. It's not going to phase them at all, so it's not as important to bring a full repair kit for that. But if you're ripping out a binding or something, you're going to have a tough time finishing that race. So really make sure your gear's in good working order before race day.
Yeah, and that's critical. Like having an understanding of your gear and the ins and outs, how it works, how to use it effectively, and how to, on the fly, if you need to tweak something, it's good to know and be well versed in how your gear works.
It's one of the tough things a lot. We have people come in and they're like, well, I'll just use my heavy gear, the Exhibit A we brought out first, and I'll just rent a light setup. And we rent a ton of setups for the Traverse, the Ute Mountaineer, rents a ton of setups for the Traverse. You know, there's good places you can find this gear now for rent, but it's going to be very hard to be dialed with it if it's your first time stepping into it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, make sure you get a few long days on it before race day.
Yep.
Make sure those boots are comfortable. Easily the most important part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have a really miserable time if you get into a pair of boots for the first or second or third time, and you know, you could spend upwards of, 15, 20 hours. What's the cutoff for the race?
I think about 16 hours.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long
Yeah.
time to spend in a pair of ski boots.
Yeah.
And if you haven't gotten in a solid, 6, 8, 10-hour day in your boots, and you don't know what it's like to suffer through a 16-hour day in your ski boots, it's not fun. So make sure they work for you, they're comfortable, and you're gonna have a good time.